set aside some time to do administrative tasks.
Yeah.
Set aside time that you're going to go on appointments. Set aside time you're going to have family time, right? Everything needs to be time blocked, and then all you got to do is follow your schedule.
Well, the funny thing is, now that I have built up my calendar, I now time block for nothing. So it's like, I don't want anything scheduled here. And it's not that I'll be doing nothing, but it's like I have so many appointments that if I don't put in time for nothing, then it won't happen.
Yeah.
And that nothing time is literally probably grocery shopping or just cleaning my house or literally just sitting at home by myself for a little bit.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the new Agent Jumpstart podcast. My name is Colt Callison, and I am joined here with my wife, Ashton.
Hello.
Hello. So if you've been following us for a while, so what are we, about 2 months into this thing?
Yeah.
So going strong. This is episode number 9, and the title of this episode is How Do I? How do I? So we're going to cover, there's like 4 things that we would really like to cover, and it's just kind of different aspects of real estate. But as a newer agent, this is probably some good information as far as, how do I go about this or this, And so if you're joining us again, if you've watched some of our content or listened to it, welcome back. We're so happy that you're back. It's actually kind of cool because we were just out the other day and we were talking to another agent and we were talking about podcasts and, the new Agent Jumpstart podcast came up and it's like, yeah, I just heard of that. And I'm like, yeah, that's us. That's us. So
that was funny.
That was pretty cool to know that it's getting out in the local community at least. Hopefully if you're around the country, hopefully you're enjoying it. But, we're just here. The point of this is to help brand new agents or newer agents really get started in their career, right? Jumpstart their career. And if you're a seasoned agent that hasn't quite hit that $100,000 a year mark, then we're here for you as well. If you're some, mega team leader and all that, this is not the podcast for you. This is a little bit probably below what you're used to.
You already know all this.
You all already know all this. You probably have your own podcast. But, if you're newer and you're struggling and everything, hopefully you like what we have to say. Hopefully it helps you. And we're just real. We just tell you what's working for us. We don't hold anything back. We believe we have an abundance mindset. And we just believe that, there's enough business out there for everybody.
Absolutely.
So anything you want to say before we get going?
Let's just dive in. I'm ready to just get going.
Let's just dive in. So how do I handle contract negotiations?
This is a big one, especially coming from a season that we've been having multiple offers. Negotiations really haven't been a thing. It's more of, hey, you send your best and final, and that's all you get to do. Now, sometimes you'll have some agents that they like your offer a little bit better, so they'll give you a little bit of an opportunity to tweak your offer. But honestly, we haven't been in a negotiating type market for a little bit. So some people may not have even had to negotiate an offer. It's just, we wrote this up. If it's great, you sign it. If not, then we'll go find a different one.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing when you're going into making an offer and negotiating is making sure you understand where the buyer is financially and what they're willing to do. Make sure you explain all the different kinds of ways that you can tweak an offer to make it appealing to the seller, but also keep your buyer covered.
Yeah.
And also, it's nice to have a phone call with an agent and say, hey, I know you can't tell me everything about their position, but is there anything that I could put in my offer that would make the offer more enticing? And sometimes it's not about the dollar amount. It's about time frame for closing, or maybe a dollar amount limiting inspection repairs, that sort of thing. Like, there's a lot of different things that make a offer appealing besides just the purchase price.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be the top dollar. I mean, flexibility on time frames that work with the seller. Maybe the seller needs to stay in the property a little bit after closing, so you do a lease back.
Yeah.
Something like that. Whatever would make the seller more comfortable that's going to give you a better chance of winning that offer, especially in a multiple offer situation.
Absolutely. And having good professional communication, making sure that you are, respectful to the other side. I know a lot of times we kind of like to play hardball and make it look like we're a bulldog for our clients, but humility and asking questions and being respectful goes a long way in negotiating, and it makes you want to be someone that the other party wants to work with.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of times that you've come to me and said, hey, I won our deal. I got the contract because the agent called me and said, hey, you are awesome at communicating. All the others, I mean, I couldn't hardly get anything out of the other buyer agents, but you were there. You took our phone calls. You answered any questions that we had, and it's obvious you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so just being available, I guess, for the listing agent and just communicating, that goes a long ways. The relationship aspect of it, because I know we talked about it before on the podcast. I used to be the bulldog, the hothead. I got to fight for everything, and all that does is just turn off the other agent.
Right.
I mean, and believe it or not, the listing agent does have a say a little bit. I know there's people out there that's going to say, well, we should never bring our feelings into it. But they do, and that's reality. The listing agent does have influence over what offers, and how they present.
Because most sellers are going to want the agent's opinion if they hired them.
Absolutely. And if I have two identical offers, but one agent I've worked with and is a complete jerk, and the other one I've worked with and was awesome, I'm going to sway my client to go that route. Now, some might argue ethics, some might not. I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Because my job at the end of the day as a listing agent is to guide my client to what's best for them, and my expertise in the relationships with other agents in the industry go a long way in how I'm going to guide my clients. Because at the end of the day, my clients want to sell their home. So who's going to get them to that closing table with the least amount of hassle, And if it's the nicer agent that, we always get stuff done, we always brainstorm together, that's the agent that I'm going to hopefully go with.
I'd also like to bring up that a clean contract goes a long way. Like, just fill in the blanks, use capital letters, do correct punctuation, look professional with your contract, because it is a legal document.
Yeah.
And you are representing your client with that document. And so making sure you understand everything that you're filling in, and make it where you paint a perfect picture of what your offer is, and you don't leave the listing agent asking questions like, well, why'd you write it this way? Or what does this actually mean? Because verbiage matters on a contract, and you want to make sure that your buyer's covered for sure, but you also want to make sure that the seller understands what you're even sending over.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a contract I wrote up just the other day where, we wrote on a contract addendum, right, to keep it away from the lender. But it basically spelled out what we were saying, and then I gave an example past that. If this scenario happens, it would work like this, right?
Right.
So the way that I teach going about writing up contracts is you have to pretend like you're going to court in every single deal.
Yeah.
Every single transaction, you're going to court, and you got to present the entire file to the judge, and you can't say a word. You can't explain what you meant. You can't explain how he should try to interpret this. You just got to hand it over, and the judge will make his ruling, his or her ruling. And if you write up every contract where there's no doubt about how things will work, if you had to go to court, then that's probably a pretty good contract.
Yes, I agree.
When negotiating, it's not necessarily the best deal the best price.
Yes.
It's not necessarily top dollar. Terms go a long way in what you can do. And if your buyer is flexible on terms, then you might have a good shot. I will also say that part of our job for negotiations is really setting the
expectations.
Yes, setting the expectations with our buyers up front, right? So there was a deal that I wrote on not too long ago. I knew there were 6 other offers. The house has been on the market for 24 hours. They were waiting through the weekend. They were going to do best and final Saturday or Sunday night, and they were going to make their decision Monday morning. And I had the conversation with the buyers. Hey, this might be one where you want to waive inspections. We've walked through it. Everybody, it looks great. I didn't see anything in my experience that would really stick out. I hate going that route. It's my last case scenario type thing. But in this case, they were up. They really loved the house, wanted to do it. They thought that was a dumb idea.
Yeah.
And then when we did not win the offer, I called the agent, and the agent told me, hey, you actually had the best price. Mm-hmm. However, we had another one come in and waive their inspections, and the seller is elderly, and they don't want anything. They don't want to have to worry about any repairs.
Yep.
So had we done that, we probably would have got that house. It is what it is, right? I mean, you can only set the expectations up so far, and then it's ultimately up to the clients. But at least at the end of the day, I felt good about it because I guided them down the path that would get them the house that they wanted, and they chose to go another route with it. So just have conversations with your buyers and have conversations with the other agent.
Yep.
So anything else you want to add on that?
No, I think that's a good start for that one.
You've been doing this for 4 years now. The board is getting a little blank over there in Lori's office with your pending transactions. I think you're down to 7 right now pending. So you need to bump that up a little bit. But typically, I mean, it wasn't a week and a half ago. You had 11 or 12 up there?
13.
13 at one time.
Yeah.
So how do you handle multiple deals at one time?
Well, I mean, that we hired an assistant, so that was a big part for me. But before
Whose idea was that?
That was yours. But I think before I hired her, and I'll just say it was when I was starting to get 4 to 5 pending consistently.
Yeah.
I really had to prioritize who got my time. And so if I had a situation that needed attention right then and there, that got my attention. And you have to be very intentional about setting your appointments. You have to actually have a calendar. Like, you cannot fly by the seat of your pants. So when you get that many that are pending, you could have overlapping home inspection timeframes. You could have final walkthroughs that need to be done, closing timeframes. Like, you have to make sure that you're putting stuff in your calendar and following those timelines. Make sure you're setting the reminders for your repair requests to be submitted, all that. I got to the point where I was scrambling. I'd be writing 3 or 4 repair requests at the same time, and it was super stressful. So that's when I knew, I'm so sick of doing this paperwork. I need an assistant. So I made sure, though, that anything that was on fire or was a dollar producing activity, those got me first.
Yeah.
And then everything else, there were a lot of times I was working after the kids went to bed on the stuff that didn't require me to talk to people. So writing something up, sending it over so it could be signed in the morning, that sort of thing. So you have to be very intentional with your time.
Absolutely. Speaking of time, I know this podcast is designed mostly for newer agents. So having 7, 8, 13 transactions at one time probably isn't the agent that's listening to this podcast. So my advice to those that is time blocking is key.
Yes.
Right? Something that when I was at Keller Williams, Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams, he said something very profound. He says, the world does not come alive until 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. Right? So first thing you need to do is remember that even though you have multiple deals going on at one time, you're still the most important the most important aspect of your business is finding new business.
Yep, prospecting.
So no matter what, you should be prospecting, doing lead generation, finding new business, something every morning.
Yep.
Right? No matter how many deals you got. Because if you don't, then you have that roller coaster effect. You'll work in your business, you'll put out all the fires and everything, and you put off lead generating. And then once you get all those deals done, then you'll be looking at your calendar and you're like, I got nothing going on and I don't have any closings.
Well, and you'll find the more deals that you start getting, how those urgent phone calls and emails from the lender, from whoever, they do those every week until last minute. And so it's not that you want to delay doing what you need to do, but you can wait 2 hours before you respond to that email. You don't have to have the VA clause signed right then and there. It needs to probably be done that week, but you don't need to take away from your dollar producing activities to go send an email.
Yeah. The way I see it, if a lender is emailing me, I got some time. If a lender is calling me, it's probably a little bit more urgent. But still, I mean, I had a rule in my business that my phone was on silent. I did not answer a single call, did not look at any emails. Nothing happened until 11 a.m. And then you prioritize your time, set aside time block, like I was talking about, set aside some time to do administrative tasks.
Yeah.
Set aside time that you're going to go on appointments. Set aside time you're going to have family time, right? Everything needs to be time blocked, and then all you got to do is follow your schedule.
Well, the funny thing is, now that I have built up my calendar, I now time block for nothing. So it's like, I don't want anything scheduled here. And it's not that I'll be doing nothing, but it's like I have so many appointments that if I don't put in time for nothing, then it won't happen.
Yeah.
And that nothing time is literally probably grocery shopping or just cleaning my house or literally just sitting at home by myself for a little bit.
Yeah, the kids are gone and you're there by yourself.
I've never had that before, but now that I have built up where I have that many pending and we're building our company, it's like if I don't even block out my free time, it's not going to happen.
I mean, obviously, when you're a newer agent, your calendar is not going to be as full. And when you get to a point where you're consistently closing 4 or 5 deals a month and you're doing everything administrative wise or not, then that's the time when you start looking at bringing on an assistant like Lori. And we talked about that. I mean, looking back now, that's probably one of the best things that's helped you go from a consistent 4 or 5 to now a consistent probably 10 on average.
Well, yeah, like I know I had 5 closings last week. And so I can credit that to we hired Lori and I was like set free to perform and do my prospecting and stuff. And now several of those have closed, but I'm still sitting right around 6 or 7. And those are pretty far out. So like my average is going to increase to about 8 is what I'm hoping. And I can see how that's possible because I actually have help with all those other little things.
Well, if you read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the administrative assistant should double your business.
Yeah.
So if you're a single agent out there and you consistently get up to 4 a month and you bring on a good, talented assistant, and we hit the jackpot, and we remind her of that all the time.
Yeah.
We just had interviews today for another position, and basically I started off the interview of, we're looking for Lori, but for this position, And so we really took the time. We did it right. We've screwed up in the past. We've tried hiring assistants.
Oh, yeah, so much that it scarred us, and we're like, oh, we're never going to hire someone again.
Yeah. And the bad thing is I knew we needed to, and I was talking to you about it, but yeah, I think that PTSD and
100%
kept us from doing that so much. And now that we've got a rock star, now it makes us eager to build the rest of our business, our team out and everything like that. But now we're very choosy on who we bring in, and they got to fit our culture. They got to be, A talent. It's so funny now. Back then it's like, okay, what's A talent? How can you tell A talent to B talent or C talent or whatever? Let me just say, once you find A talent, they stick out like a sore thumb. It's obvious. When she went through the hiring process, everybody that we talked to, it was obvious she was well above everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And she's not fallen below any expectations at all. So she's been great. And so when you hit that point in your business where you can bring somebody on, then find somebody that's going to be a talent, somebody that's going to own that part of the business, all things administrative, so that you can go focus on lead generation and being on appointments.
And the goal is not that you are to do less, it's to give you the ability to increase on the things that will make you money. So I think a lot of people, they think, oh, I'm going to hire somebody and I'm going to work less. I work way more now. It's just on different things.
It's on dollar producing activities,
exactly.
Right? And Dan Martell in the book Buy Back Your Time, he talks about that. The whole point of buying back your time and hiring somebody to take things off your plate is not to free up your time so you can go chill on the beach. Mm-hmm. It's to then utilize your time, your free time that's been freed up, utilize it in such a way that's going to do more dollar producing activities than what you hired out for. If you hire somebody at $20 an hour and you've given those duties away, you should never touch anything in your business again that's worth $20 an hour or less, right? That person should be handling it.
Right.
Anything above $20 an hour is now your focus, right? And your focus is every time you make a hire, your dollar producing activities, your dollar per hour goes way up, right? And you start focusing on very high things, high performance things, right? Like I'm going on a listing appointment and that's it, right? I'm just getting the listing, I'm bringing it back to my team, right? Something like that. Very high dollar producing activities. So no, I agree with you. Once you fill those roles, your job is to let them take it and not just chill.
So back to the question, handling multiple deals, time blocking is really what you need to focus on. If you don't have a lot of things going on right now, that's okay. If you're doing your job, it's going to happen. But just remember that more business is a good thing. And if you do have to grow into getting an assistant, don't be scared of that, because that's going to jumpstart you to a whole nother level. And I've learned that the hard way. It took me a long time to get there, but now that I have, there's no going back. She went on vacation and it was like the worst week of my life. So, and I'm not even being dramatic. It was horrible. When she got back and I met with her, I'm like, I need help. I think I screwed something up. It was so funny. But it took us about 48 hours. Everything was back to normal. We could breathe again. But honestly, time blocking and just learning what is urgent and what is not is going to be huge.
Here's what I would do if I was brand new again and just getting started. Every single transaction that I had, I would put a percentage of my commission aside to invest in a full-time assistant. And I would probably try to save up 3, 4, maybe even 6 months worth of salary for that person, and then pull the trigger as soon as you get it. Because that person, if you have them do the things that they're supposed to do and you stick to just doing the things that you're supposed to do, once you have them, your business will explode.
Well, and I think it's safe to say that, let's say your goal is to reach 100,000. You're not just going to be 100,000. If you're doing the activities to get there, you're going to be doing the activities to get to 150 to 200. And so inevitably, you're going to need help if you don't want to cap out.
Yeah.
And because consistently, I think I had back-to-back years where I consistently closed right around 50 units. And I knew, I'm like, well, I'm not increasing, so I got to do something new. And so I'm hoping this year I'll have a little bit of a jump in my sales, at least in volume, which I know I will, even though I hired her in the middle of the year. But you have to make sure that you are planning for that. Otherwise, you are going to get burnt out because you're going to have so much business and you don't know how to handle it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, even though we hired Lori in the middle of the year with what you were doing before that and now what you're doing now, if you don't close at least 75 units on your own, then probably something's wrong. But it's funny that now you're at that different level. And even though you're more busy with more clients, it doesn't feel, I mean, you can speak to it, but to me, it doesn't feel like we're swamped with, a whole bunch of tasks that we have to do. It's nice having the help because it frees up a lot of your time and you're able to go do more work and it doesn't seem like it's more work.
Well, I can consistently say that every week that I've had her, I've brought her at least 1 or 2, sometimes 3 contracts that week. And so my minimum is I have to be giving her a contract a week, which if I do that, I'm at 52, but the goal is to be way more than that. So I'm really looking forward to what my numbers will look like next year after having her for basically 6 months of this year.
Oh, for sure.
Because she came in at just the right time. And so she got to learn during the busy season and we got to kind of see how much that affects our business. And it's tremendous.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into the third thing on our list.
So this is a question I actually really like because I think you and I are both pretty good at this. So how do I handle property inspections?
Oh, home inspections, property inspections. So I think handling the property or the home inspection starts at a buyer consultation.
Yes.
So it starts in the office, and it starts with setting the expectations of what home inspections are for and what they're not for.
Yes.
So a lot of agents that I see use home inspections as an open door to start negotiations all over, right? Which is not what they're for. What they're for are to identify major issues or safety concerns with the home. And when I talk major issues, I'm talking foundational, roof, electrical, plumbing, right? The main key areas. It is not, hey, there's, some wood coming up or whatever. It's on the deck, right? Something that's visible. You could already see. You should have made your offer based off that.
Right.
Right. So we need to set the expectations to our buyers that, hey, the home inspector, his or her only job is to provide a list, a full list in detail of every single thing that's wrong with the home. That does not mean that every single thing needs to be addressed. You could live in that home for 15 years and never address some of the things on that list, and you'll be just fine. It's, for one, there's no perfect home. I can build a house today, have it brand new, and there's still a bunch of issues.
Right.
Right? And that's a brand new house. So there's no perfect home. And so what we're looking for are major things. From there, I would also be teaming up with a home inspector that will not scare off my clients. So if you have a home inspector that goes in, oh yeah, this is kind of a big deal and all that, that dude's fired. I will never.
And I think it's important to say there that you need to have a home inspector that's honest, but you need to have a home inspector that offers a solution.
Yeah.
Because the people that I partner with, I don't ever think they're going to scare away my clients. They're going to give them the truth, which is what we want, but they always give a suggestion on how to fix it because they're super handy like that, or they refer someone that can come out and check it out for them. And they honestly play it off like this is home ownership. This is going to show up on most people's home inspections. So just how they say it is a really big deal. Some home inspectors put their ego in with it, and it's like they just want to crush everybody.
Yeah.
Just to show their knowledge, and that just drives me insane.
Yeah. I want somebody that's also a homeowner. And so they're aware that, homes do have issues, and not all homes are emergent, or not issues. Not all issues are emergencies. Man, I couldn't get that out. But yeah, that's going into a home inspection. That's going to be my biggest thing is just setting the expectations up front. From there, when we're talking in negotiations and writing up any repair request, again, I'm only asking for the most important things. I don't think I've ever written up a repair request in the middle of a transaction where I've had more than probably 7 things. And that's a lot in my mind.
Yeah. My base is 3 to 5.
Yeah. I mean, I try to stick around 3. What's your 3 major ones? Because here's the deal. If you're asking for a couple major things and then you tack on a bunch of small stuff, right? In the seller's mind, you're asking for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you focus on the 1 or 2 major things, you're much more likely to get some help there. And they might just go ahead and do it because it doesn't look like you're nitpicking their house.
Absolutely.
And remember, I get it. You're buying it or your client's buying this house, but it's still the seller's home.
Right.
And so any repair request is a dig in the seller's mind of their home. Well, my home's perfect. I've lived here for 15 years. There's nothing wrong with my home. And then there's stuff wrong with their home.
My favorite scenario is when I have the buy-sell combo and the seller is also my buyer. And they haven't gone through a repair request on their house, but I get to say, okay, so if you get a repair request like this on your house, are you going to do everything on this list? Well, I don't need to do all that. I'm like, well, they don't need to do all that either. It's like most people live in a house after they purchase it and don't ever look at that home inspection ever again.
Yeah.
And they don't even do everything that is on that list. They don't care. It just somehow gets in their mind that they're getting something imperfect. But my favorite thing to throw out there right now is I will have a home inspection on a new build, and it will have defective items, safety items, marginal items, and that house was built in the same year. So you have to give your client perspective and expectations up front. I mean, there's some times where I'm like, hey, would you like to see an example of what a home inspection looks like before you have one, so you know what it looks like going into it?
That's a great idea.
Because when you send someone a 50-page document of what's going on with their house, even though there's like just random pictures that may not even be a problem, it's still 50 pages. They think, oh my gosh, my house is going to fall over. But it's not that. They are going through with a fine-tooth comb, making sure they're showing you everything.
Yeah.
Because there's a heck of a lot of good in there. It's just people see the big, bad, defective items and they freak out. So I put a pretty big picture in front of them before they even go to the home inspection. And then my inspectors that I partner up with, they do a great job of explaining it. And if they have further questions, they always say, hey, call me. And if you need someone to come check this out, I probably know somebody.
Yeah.
So your partnership with the home inspector is a big deal.
Absolutely. Speaking on the other side of things, and this is something that, to be very transparent and honest with, we are not doing at the moment. I've never done this, but I came across this the other day where an agent says, I don't ever negotiate repairs after we get under contract. Because what he does is he has a pre-inspection done prior to the listing going live. They have the entire thing done. The seller even, addresses some of the issues. They identify which issues they've addressed, everything like that. And then they put that inspection report out there and basically say, look, we've had it done. This is what we've done, and we're not negotiating anything. So this is for informational basis only. There is no inspection period. He's even gone as far as, instead of just having a home inspector do it, have actual licensed contractors in the different fields. So have a plumber come out, have an electrician come out, have a roofer come out, and write up a detailed report for the homeowner, basically saying, I've looked at all these systems, everything's whatever, and they just present that. They disclose all that to the potential buyers through the MLS.
So I encounter this all the time, and quite frankly, I don't like it.
Okay. Why?
Because I know what a good home inspection looks like, and when I pull up a 15-page document on a house that's 112 years old, I don't think everything is in that document.
So what if you used a trusted, from our side of things, what if we took a listing and we used, let's say, the home inspector that we trust, and we cut a deal with them that, hey, we're going to have every listing that goes live, we're going to have you look at it, give us some a discounted rate or something like that, and we just tack it on to, I don't know if you tack it on to the commission and just increase your commission or whatever, or just provide a service for free or something. I don't know. I haven't played around with the ideas, but what if you had a full detailed report from a trusted home inspector that most of the community even trusts?
I think that's great in theory, but we trust them because we've worked with them however many amount of times. If you've never worked with that inspector, you don't have the trust that we have. And so for me, I'm very loyal. And so when I read someone else's inspection report and I have an expectation in my mind of what it looks like, they may do every single inspection for that seller, that agent, and that's beautiful for them, but I don't know them. I'm going to look through it and I'm going to be like, my client is going to read a home inspection report they did not pay for, waive their home inspection, and then they're going to call me when that inspector didn't find something that it wasn't on the report, but it happened a week after they moved in.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I seriously would rather them just full-blown say, I'm waiving my inspection. I don't need any type of inspection. Like, they don't even look at the report. Like, I know that sounds kind of bad, but the last time I did that, the inspector missed a bunch of electrical issues in the attic, which almost caused a fire. So, I don't know. It's really tough. I hate waiving inspections. But there's a reason I refer the home inspectors that I do. So even if there is a pre-inspection report on the MLS, I will say 90% of the time we still get our own home inspection.
I just didn't know if from a listing standpoint, as the listing agent, if that would help our sellers and negotiation or a peace of mind knowing, hey, we're going into this way because we don't want this deal falling apart halfway through the transaction, because now the buyer had a home inspection and now because you start negotiations all over. I mean, you have your base.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah, you have your base point where, hey, we've already reached terms, but now, I mean, there's no guarantee that this thing will close because we still have to go through inspections and we still have to negotiate repairs and all that. And if they don't want to clean the dryer vent, right?
No, I understand that.
The buyers can walk.
I think my biggest struggle with that situation is if you provide that, you're under multiple offers, they're probably going to waive their inspection anyways. If they're not under multiple offers, I'm not using your inspection report. I'm going to get my own anyways.
Okay.
Because there's nothing in there that forces me to waive that.
Yeah, because this agent that I saw, he explained that, they do the pre-inspection, they list the home, and they require non-refundable earnest money.
This is basically an as-is transaction then, and those are my least favorite.
Okay. I just wonder if it hurt them or they were just in a market that was so
I hate your idea. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I'm just talking. Like I said, we just want to be transparent and honest. And this is something that I came across, and it's just something that I've kind of thought that'd be an interesting approach.
I think everyone has a level of, knowledge they want about a house. Like, I think some people, less is more. Others, I have super analytical clients that they want all the dirty. And so I've just come to find out I would rather have the ugliest looking, like nitty gritty home inspection report and have everything out in the open, and my buyer understands that, than to have a smaller document that looks pretty that they may not be giving all the information.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, for right now, we're not doing pre-inspections.
Right.
Okay. So good to know. Well, let's go into the fourth thing on our list.
I think this is great for you because you've done a lot of listings, and I think you get way more objections from listings. But how do you handle objections?
Ooh, that's a good question. So objections, for one, the first thing you got to ask yourself, is it really an objection or is it a condition? And let me explain the difference. A condition is something that cannot be changed, right? So a condition might be, I can't sell my home right now because my credit's in the toilet and I can't qualify for a new mortgage.
Financing. Mm-hmm.
I can't sell my home right now because if I sold it, I don't have the money to come to the table to pay for the difference because my home's worth less than what it was. I mean, this is really big over on East Coast, West Coast, right? They could buy it for $700,000. The market corrects, their house drops down to $500,000 as a market value, and now they're stuck.
Honestly, we're seeing it here too because the people that overpaid 2 years ago, they may need to sell, and quite frankly, they can't.
Yeah, the people that went $40,000, $50,000 in and did appraisal waivers, appraisal gaps, all that kind of stuff, and really overpaid. Yeah, no, that's even true in the Wichita, Kansas area. So the first thing is it truly an objection, and is it truly, or is it truly a condition? If it is an objection to me is I just need more information, right?
Right.
I don't know you like you trust you enough yet, or you haven't presented me the material that I need to make an educated decision, right? So the best way to overcome objections, true objections, is to ask questions.
Yep.
Right? So what is it that you're really looking for? Or, if you could net more now, right, would you? Or what if I could show you that it wasn't really the market that failed to sell your house? It wasn't a bad time to sell.
Right.
It was probably more of marketing.
Yeah.
Right? If I could show you that homes in your price range sold, right? So it's just more data, more questions that need answered. Do they have to wait a couple months and then they can sell because they're going through a divorce and they're having a really bad day, and you call them on the day that they just were pissed at the world, and it's like, we're not selling. Well, are you not selling, or are you just mad because you and your spouse are getting a divorce and you're having a rough day with that, but you do need to sell, right? So overcome objections is one, there's certain things that you can say with each objection. Every objection has got an objection handler, right? Something that you can say on the back end to overcome that.
Right.
For the most part. And if you can't with an objection handler, just ask more questions, right? Just dig deeper. What's important to you? Why is that time frame important? What's important about moving to such and such area? Why are you selling, right?
And you're not aggravating the people, because more often than not, people like to talk about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think I've had success over the phone and prospecting on cold calls and everything because I just act as a normal person and I just ask questions, right? I don't go into it where, hey, I'm the number one agent and yada, yada. I can care less. It's not ego driven. And most of the time, I've had feedback at people at the listing appointment that says, you're the only one we gave a shot to, because all these others that called me, their ego was so damn big that we said, nope, not dealing with you, right? So take your ego out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And come from contribution, be of service, and provide value up front without anything coming back to you guaranteed at all. And you're going to have a lot more success at overcoming any objections. So what about you?
Well, I say with buyers, objections are a little different. I overcome a lot of objections more during like the negotiating process, or like even the repair request stuff. It's like rationalizing things with your client is different on the buy side than on the selling side. I will say I have overcome some objections on why a buyer was willing to work with me. Like they had a family friend and then they realized that wasn't the smartest decision. They tried them first. Like I lost initially and they're like, okay, we're going to come give you a try because this isn't working.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I don't like to push it with a buyer. Like if they don't want to work with me, I kind of have a feeling in the end, like it wasn't a good fit in the first place, because a majority of the time I win them over. If I don't, then we probably just didn't mesh as far as personalities. And the truth is, I'm not for everybody. The people I work with, I really enjoy. And so if I'm not for that person, I'm not going to fight it. But I also don't let that objection or rejection get to me. I just go get a new client. Yeah. And I think that's the key. It's like understanding it's not personal, it's business. And it is a personal business, I guess. Like we have to have a relationship with people. But at the end of the day, I think the more that you do it, you kind of understand how to communicate with the person that's in front of you. And you're going to know if they're going to be your client or not. Yeah. And I think you know, like if it's worth your time on the phone to ask those questions, or if you know this is going nowhere and you just hang up and move on to the next one.
Oh, absolutely. It takes time to get to that level. But I remember times where I didn't feel like their objection was really sincere. It was just a knee-jerk reaction. And so I would press a little bit more. And then there were some that were just complete jerks. And I'm like, I don't want to work with you.
I always laugh with like buyer leads. It'll always like, if it's a lead, it'll say like, oh, maybe 6 to 12 months out. It's never 6 to 12 months out. Like that's just their first one because they don't want people harassing them. Yeah. But if I can get a good conversation going with them to get through that objection, oh, we're not really looking right now. I'm like, okay, well, if the right house came along, would you want to go look at it? And more often than not, they're like, well, yeah, we are kind of looking. Like you just keep asking questions like you said, and eventually they're like, yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and get pre-approved. And then if you want to set up that meeting, we could go ahead and do that. And it goes from being a one question to one answer conversation to several questions to several answers. And you just can't take no for an answer.
Well, you just told me today when we went out to lunch that you had a lender send you a referral. And the lender said, this buyer is probably about 6 months out. Just wanted to send them your way so you could build a relationship. And you put them under contract in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, which I just crack up at that because it's really, that's your first rejection. They don't want to talk to you. They want to go on this timeline until they're ready. But they're ready, or they wouldn't be reaching out in the first place. Yeah. And so, or they're thinking about it at least. And so just being willing to put yourself out there and ask the questions. And it doesn't always work, and it's fine. Go get somebody else.
Yeah, there's way too many people out there to get held up over one or two.
Yes, I told myself, even if I lose a deal, I will not mope longer than 5 minutes. I think you told me that there's someone like be mad for 5 minutes and then let it go if it's not going to affect you in 5 years or something like that.
Yep. If it doesn't affect you, if it doesn't mean anything in 5 years, don't spend any more than 5 minutes being mad over it.
Yep. And it's funny because I even changed how I wrote my deals on my board. I don't put my commission anymore because I'm not paid yet. And so that number doesn't matter to me. I just put the closing date and what the purchase price of the house is. But it's like, that's not my money yet. And it's less hurtful when I lose it if I don't see what I was getting paid, which that's totally just a mind game for me. But because you can go off of the purchase price too. But just not getting held up on a loss. And even if it's just a bad conversation, just let it go and move on to something else.
Absolutely. Well, I think we covered quite a bit today. Hopefully this was good for those that are listening to it and everything. If you like the direction of what we're going and kind of the topics that we're discussing, please let us know. I mean, we want to take this channel to the direction that you guys as the audience want to know something. So if there's something specifically that you want our take on, then reach out to us and comment on the video and leave a review and definitely like and subscribe.
I mean, we'd honestly love feedback just because, I mean, we feel like sometimes we're beating a dead horse with some of the subjects that we've been talking about, but it's like, you know, this is what we do. I mean, we just have to dive deeper, I guess.
Yeah, and then it's refreshing when every now and then we get somebody out of the blue who's like, oh, I listened to your guys' podcast. And
oh, yay.
This is cool. Somebody actually listens to it. So
yeah.
I know it's going to grow. I mean, we got, 3 new subscribers just in the last couple of days. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful for every single subscriber we got on YouTube and Spotify and everything like that. We just ask that you give us a little bit of feedback and let us know how we can do. So, do you got anything to finish this one out? Or
no, I liked this one though. This was a good one. I like talking about that.
Absolutely. So, if you're a new agent, hopefully this was helpful for you. And if you're a seasoned agent, hopefully we gave you a couple tips that would help you grow to that 6-figure income range. So, we can definitely get you there with this channel. So, until next week, guys, for episode number 9, this is it.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.